July Terran to play a TVP. He seems to be in a jolly mood today. I don't know, maybe it's just, you know, the good old big guys are generally more cheerful kind of thing. I don't want to say fat, that's not very nice, right? What's the PC term for large? Large? Big? Big bone? I think it's big bone. Yeah, jolly, like Santa Claus, exactly. Anyway, he's going to be playing against Jaehoon, who is apparently as sleepy as I am. He's like in a booth, about to play a match for his team on, you know, national TV, and he's just like asleep. Look at him, he's like actually sleeping too. He's actually just going to sleep in the booth. He actually doesn't care. Alright, sweet. So we're gonna have Jolly Hansen versus Sleepy Jaehoon for first match. I might just call them that the whole time too. I hear people outside. I don't know why they're outside. It's 4 AM. I guess they just like came back from a long night drinking or something. They should just hang out, watch some StarCraft with me. That'll be fun. StarCraft with drunk people. All right. Going to the first game, looks like we're on Sniper Ridge, and in the bottom right as the orange Terran, we will have Hansen, who seems to like this map a lot. So far he seems to always come out just on this map. He's like a Sniper Ridge specialist. He's not like a matchup specialist, he's actually a map specialist, which actually is that's not true at all. These maps are all fairly standard. Like if we were in last season of Pro League, that would maybe make sense, because you have really weird maps like Outlier and Chain Reaction where it's like, okay, I can kind of see how someone might be a specialist at playing on these maps. But for this season, they got rid of all those weird maps and they only kept the 4 standard maps. Anyway, hey, what's up, white couple? Or I say couple, but it could just be brother and sister. I think I say that every time. I can never tell. You know, you see them, you just automatically assume that they're a couple, but it's like, well, not necessarily. Oh yeah, that guy's gonna be the next July Terran. Well, we've already had July Zerg and July Terran. Maybe that guy plays Protoss, and he can grow up to be July Protoss. That would be pretty cool. And looks like we're gonna have a wall in from Hansen here. Less common nowadays, but if you're going for something like a 2-fact, then definitely a good idea. And Hansen, of course, pretty well known for his 2-fact versus Bisu. So let's see what he does here. I believe you can make it a pretty tight wall on this map. Looks like it. Stick another depot on top of that one. But the probe is going to get in here. Looks like, what's his face? Jaehoon did do a gateway scout and did scout in the right direction, fortunately for him. So he's going to get in. And so any plans that Hansen might have had of like walling himself off to prevent a scout and then, you know, doing some kind of sneaky 2-fact behind is going to be at least somewhat delayed, if not foiled, by this probe in his base. If Jaehoon controls that probe correctly. Alright. What? Alright, if Jaehoon controls his probe correctly, he will be able to stay alive long enough to see if any second factory goes down. Even if a Marine comes out, you know, the Marine's a little bit slower than the probe. It's not like StarCraft 2 where, you know, the Marine is very smooth with its stutter step. The Marine is like, just will get stuck on the SCVs. As you can see there, just getting stuck on some SCVs there. So Hansen's going to control as best he can, and might actually get this in time to block it from seeing the second factory if that's what he wants to do. But he has pulled guys off gas already, and that's what he showed. And lifting that barracks, I wonder if he just wanted the probe to leave or something, but taking that down with the SCV now. But I think due to just not mining that gas already, he's kind of committed to just doing an FD. And Jaehoon did see that, so we're not going to see any crazy early aggression from him. And I don't think it's very likely to come from Jaehoon either. He hasn't shown any additional attack. His first Dragoon is out. If he's going to plant a Robo, it's going to be right about now. Otherwise, it will just be an expansion. And then we see the machine shop for Hansen. And I'm just looking at the minimap. I don't see a Robo in the base, so I feel like this is just going to be a 1-gate expand from what's his face, from Jaehoon. You know what? SCV is actually hidden at the 12 o'clock there, so they're going to run in a little bit later and scout. And look at this, a fast Citadel of a Dune. So it looks like it's actually going to be a DT expand here for Jaehoon, a 1-gate Dark Templar expand. Basically, this is actually... Alright, well, so he's going to use the Dark Templar for, essentially just for map control. It's very unlikely that, he'll just... Well, actually, wait a minute. He didn't build a Nexus. Whoa, he sent a probe down to his natural. I thought he was building a Nexus. That might have actually been a fake. So what he might have done is sent the probe down at the time where you would normally make a Nexus. And then Hansen, and then he would hope that Hansen, being a pro gamer, would send his SCV at exactly the time when you would expect to see a Nexus go down. He would see the probe there and be like, okay, he's going 1-gate expand. And then the Dragoons would kill the SCV, and then Jaehoon would not actually expand. I think that's what was just happened there. I think he was trying to mind game Hansen a little bit, but Hansen didn't actually send the SCV in time. He's going to continue to send the probe there, though. And looks like, the SCV is going to come in here. Oh, the Dragoons have to block it. The Dragoons miss a lot of shots, but he does get a third Dragoon out, though, so he will block it. Wow, that would have been horrendous if that SCV got into the base and saw the Templar archives. But this is a pretty hardcore rush from Jaehoon here, 2-gate DT. But look at this Hansen playing super safe. Look at how safe Hansen's playing. He built a command center in his base. He's getting a second factory and the engineering bay right now. I think Hansen is actually going to survive this just fine because he's playing super duper safe. Look at this, sending out another SCV. Nowadays we almost always see the command center just placed at the natural. Terran players very confident in their timings and their building placement and whatnot to help defend themselves. But Hansen is just kind of playing a little bit scared, and it's actually going to pay off hugely here. And oh my god, this is actually a DT drop. Wow, I didn't even see the Robo. Wow, Jaehoon doing Artosis' absolute favorite strategy in this matchup. And by favorite, I mean the one he used to whine about the most. And look at this, there's even a patrolling Marine at the top of the base here. Hansen has actually done like absolutely everything he possibly could to defend this. And look at this, Marine's going to see it. Now he knows exactly what's going on. He knows it's DT drop. He has 2 turrets in the base. He has to defend this 1 turret, though. The DTs can rush the turret and try and take it down. He's got to repair it. He is going to repair it, but the DTs do manage to take it down. 1 DT does fall. And that's actually going to be really annoying for him. He's building another turret behind his back. He's going to try and bring it, lure the DT to the other turret, but it doesn't quite work. He does lose 1 siege tank. So that's already a pretty costly blow to him, but it looks like he's getting his comsat up as well as his turret. He's going to lose a couple more SCVs here to this Dark Templar. And the Dark Templar, you can just like run back in the shuttle and run away. So even if he uses a scan, it's not necessarily even going to kill the DT, which is like makes it even more annoying. But he does have now a turret in range of his main mineral line. He really should just float that command center out. And ooh, looks like laying some spider mines at the north of his mineral line. That's a little bit risky. And the thing is, look at this. He doesn't want to use the scan because he knows the DT will just run back into the shuttle and it'll be wasted. So this is like super annoying for Hansen here. Jaehoon just continuing to harass the DT while he gets his own expansion up safely. Like, he doesn't even need to kill Hansen right now. Just getting that expansion up already is going to put him in a good position. However, Hansen is expanding himself, but that DT is going to kind of block the command center there. It looks like there was a turret planted, though. So Hansen will get that command center down and going to use a scan actually on the natural DT rather than the main one, because the natural one obviously doesn't have a shuttle it can run into. So I think that's a good idea. DT in the main trying to take down the academy, but it looks like turret. Oh! Gets the shuttle. DT does not drop. So that is quite a big win for Hansen, and now Jaehoon might be in a little bit of trouble from a bit of danger of a counterattack, because obviously he invested quite a bit of money in that DT tech as well as in the drop tech. So his standing army is exactly 5 Dragoons right now, which is not the best army in the world, and also his observers are a little bit delayed. So these vultures running out, laying some mines, are gonna give Hansen map control now. That is one risk when you look at this. The observatory just finishing. That is one risk when you go for a DT rush, is that your observers tend to be quite late, so you are a little bit vulnerable to vultures and spider mines. But since he went for the drop variation, he obviously had the robo already, and gonna Gonna get those observers. Interestingly, look at that. A scan went down at the top left of the Protoss main. That seems like a somewhat random scan. I feel like he was looking for a Stargate. He wants to know what the transition is. A very common transition from a DT rush is to go for fast arbiters. Because obviously, you have the Templar tech already. And look at this! Look at this! The Stargate actually is planted there just a few seconds after the scan went down, so Hansen doesn't see it. But his idea was correct, though. Just his timing was slightly off. Or perhaps he didn't anticipate that Jaehoon. Look at this. Jaehoon actually added 5 gateways, or went up to a total of 5 gateways before going Stargate. And I think that's why the timing was a little bit weird, because usually the follow-up from this is you actually get a much faster Stargate than that. You get the Stargate off of just maybe 3 gateways. And just try and rush for the Arbiter tech. You see the Academy actually burns down there. A little bit of a small blunder by Hansen, not the biggest deal in the world, since he built both of his comsats already. But yeah, I think just because Jaehoon went for the slightly odd variation that messed up the timing, Hansen was actually not able to see that Stargate. So if I was Hansen, I'd be slightly confused at this point, because really Stargate is absolutely the most natural and I would say best transition out of a DT rush. Even if it's obvious to the Terran, it's not like it can be hard countered or anything. It's not like carriers where you can kind of hard counter it-ish. You just go Goliaths and also just do a fast push. When you go for Arbiters off of this, you're not opening yourself up to too many different things that the Terran can do. You're not being too vulnerable. And there's the Arbiter Tribunal, of course. Looks like the probe that went to the 12 o'clock did get sniped, though. The second one is going to get a little bit lucky. Although, no, will run over Spider Mines. Might get sniped again, not quite. And we did see a third command center being planted at Hansen's natural as well, so he is also planning to just go for a macro game here. Jaehoon about 23 supply ahead right now, looks like. And going to start moving out with these Dragoons. Clear some Spider Mines. Looks like he missed a couple that were in between his in between his natural and his third. That's alright. Going to intercept a Vulture, yep. And now the 12 o'clock has been planted. So both players getting their third bases up. Looks like another shuttle has come out. Probably just going to use that for some Zealot bombs. Doesn't really make sense to continue doing DT drops at this point with turrets and scans, so many scans available. And looks like Dragoon's also positioning themselves to intercept more Vultures on the left side there. Sending his probe to the top left main, perhaps going to just double expand here. And he does have one DT at the 6 o'clock. I like this move, although it looks like he's actually not using it to block the command center, which is a little bit curious to me. Perhaps he's... well, I actually don't know where it's gone. Looks like he's actually just going to run away with it. Okay, so he wants to keep that guy alive for a little bit, instead of just delaying the Terran's third. And looks like, yeah, Jaehoon has taken his fourth, so that's probably why he's done that. He knows that, actually, if I try to block the command center with the Star Templar, it'll only delay the expansion by a few seconds, and Hansen will just scan it and send some Vultures and kill it. Whereas what I'm doing is I'm taking a very fast fourth base, so rather than delay his mining for a few seconds, I'm actually going to use it to keep this DT alive, and maybe later on use it to harass the Terran's push when he moves out. Maybe grab a free siege tank kill or something like that, or even later on when this Terran kind of sieges up and lays spider mines, you can actually use the DT to just mine drag into the siege tanks, which can be extremely effective. There's some pretty awesome videos on YouTube of DTs just killing dozens of tanks with single spider mines. Anyway, so it looks like we're going to transition into a fairly standard mid game here. Nice scout by Hansen though, seeing that fourth base before it's even finished there. I think it's just about finished. Hansen, I gotta say, has shown some pretty good timing and awareness and just game sense overall this game. I'm actually quite impressed. And there he does finally scan the Arbiter tech there, but I'm sure he knew it was coming. And yet he's already got a science facility almost finished. Gonna get those science vessels out ASAPly. His SCV count looks horrendously low though, at least at his natural. I'm not really sure why that is. Obviously he did lose a few SCVs earlier on to the DT drop, but still, that saturation is really very poor. I mean, obviously he did transfer some SCVs to his third base, but that was like barely one per patch there. He also did get his double armories, by the way, so second armory hopefully will finish around the time his +1 is done, so he can get 2-1 at the same time. So we're going to lag a little bit. Alright, and oh, probe transfer. Almost getting intercepted, but not quite. And one random probe at the top left does get taken down though. So Hansen doing a decent job with these Vultures, but he's still about 30 supply behind at this point. And it's okay for the Terran to be a little bit behind in supply in the mid-late game. I think 20 to 30 supply is acceptable. Meanwhile, buffer into no probes left. Hopefully, or hopefully not rather. Oh! Looks like at least we don't miss anything when we buffer. And 6 factories in the main base. Looks like some spider mines being laid, separating out those factories a little bit so it doesn't get units stuck. And it's another note on that is a lot of people say that factory spacing is also anti-recall defense. Like, I've heard that from a lot of different people, and I still don't quite exactly understand why that like helps you against recalls, but what are you gonna do? Apparently it like bugs out the unit pathing a little bit or something extra. I don't know. A lot of Terran players do it. Anyway, it looks like Hans's gonna clear some of these spider mines that he's laid, just because they're a little bit too close to the siege tanks. Doesn't want any big mine bombs to go off. And Hansen content to just sit back for a little bit, just harass with his vultures. Just going to turtle up on a 3 base, probably wait for his 2-1 to finish and then move out. It's a pretty standard move here. But I think he might have to do a little bit more damage with these vultures to make it effective, because he's falling further behind in the supply. And Jaehoon looks like he's going to take a very greedy 5th base at the top left natural. I'm not sure if that's he's got something positioned there. It's not a nexus yet. It might just be a probe and a pylon for now. But if he does take that, then that's going to kind of really put the pressure on Hansen to make something happen here. He's got to, just hit a really sick timing and have a good push mechanics, or do more effective vulture harass. He's got to do one or the other. And since he's not really doing that much harass right now, I hope when the push comes, it's like super effective. Anyway, it looks like Hansen actually bringing units back to his main preemptively here, kind of scared of a recall. I don't know what he's seen that's like indicated to him that a recall is coming. Because this is kind of bizarre to just have his units going back when there's not even like an Arbiter approaching. Although, just as I say that, an Arbiter does approach here, Hansen, is his like game sense really that amazing? He like saw the Arbiter coming from before it even started moving. He's like going Nostradamus Terran or something. Because look at this, he's laid 1,000,000 spider mines, he's planted turrets. If a recall goes in here, that's going to be horrible for Jaehoon. He's going to lose all his units. But it looks like the Arbiter does retreat, though. The Observer did see a bunch of turrets being on the edge of the base. I guess Jaehoon must have sensed that Hansen was prepared for the recall, so he decides not to go for it, actually. And this is great game sense by both players, honestly. Some pretty high-level stuff right here. High-level mind games, I should say. Not necessarily the mechanics and the gameplay, because, of course, it has been a fairly passive game so far. I guess after the DT drop, I should say. Looks like we have some Goliaths coming out to help take down this Arbiters and snipe any observers as well that may be following the Terran army. And look at this, 3 Stargates being added. This is almost certainly a carrier transition, and yep, there is the fleet beacon that we're seeing now for the first time. But it does get scanned immediately, so Hansen sees the fleet beacon just as it finishes. He's already added on a few Goliaths here, and he's probably just going to get Goliath range now. Actually, he might already even have it. But he's going to be mass pumping Goliaths. So he's going to be well prepared for this, and this also opens up a very nice timing for him, because if you look at the supplies right now, the supply gap is close to just about a 10 supply difference, and that's what happens when you make a carrier switch. You're investing a lot into the infrastructure to get those, the carrier upgrades, and also the Stargates. So your ground army is significantly weaker than it usually is at that point in time. And look at this, Hansen knows exactly that. He's going for the push right now. This is the perfect time. He shouldn't siege up, though. This is a very preemptive siege. He should just go right now to the Protoss Natural. There's like almost nothing in the way, but those are horrible mines. Why does he have mines there? Where did the Zealot go? Oh my god, that Zealot could have blown up all of those SCVs. If there was a second Zealot there, I think all of those SCVs would have died. Oh man, that could have been huge. I don't know why Hansen has mines in the mineral line, but it looks like some stasis have gone down. Jaehoon's just trying to buy as much time as he can to pump out more gateway units and to get his carriers out. He has added on a few gateways at the top left, but it looks like actually instead of going to the natural, Hansen's going to head towards the top left here. I kind of disagree with this, because he's pushing cross-map, which is much more difficult than pushing just northwards from his base to the Protoss main. I mean, I can understand wanting to take out your opponent's fresh expansions, but in this case, with your opponent going for the carrier switch, I think if he just went straight up towards the Protoss main, he could take out all the infrastructure and stuff, and then even if Jaehoon had mining bases, it wouldn't matter if he can't produce units. So I think this is a slightly questionable decision for Hansen, and does open up a nice opportunity for the Protoss to counterattack into the Terran's main. But no, it looks like Jaehoon does want to actually just defend it. He's got some of his units out of position. He's got a group of Dragoons and an Arbiter outside the Protoss, outside the Terran natural right now. And looks like Hansen is going to siege up in good position. There's really not that many Protoss forces here. As you can see, it's all being invested in these carriers right now. And Jaehoon could certainly lose his top left 2 bases before he gets any carriers out to help with this attack, and by then, the Terran should have reinforced his push with a bunch more Goliaths. However, it looks like there is the Protoss counterattack that I was saying. There's no siege tanks in position. That's a little bit surprising. Usually you leave at least 1 or 2 tanks in the back to bug out the Protoss army as it approaches, and whoa! Completely whiffed stasis there. I don't know if that was just a really good dodge, or if Jaehoon is just like horrendous with arbiters. I think it might be a little bit of both. Jaehoon just notorious for bad arbiter control, I guess. But that was really sick. Either Hansen actually like knows the future, or he's just doing some sick moves this game. That was really crazy. I didn't even know there was a stasis that was going to go down there, but it looks like he might have got a little bit over-eager with these tanks. A big stasis on the ramp, and I think he's going to be able to take down these leading tanks pretty easily. Yep, gonna take those down. Does lose a handful of units. I think he lost one of his arbiters there, but he does save that expansion pretty easily, and oh, nice storm there. But look at that double defense matrix on the tanks. I wonder if one of those being spent on an EMP might have been a little bit more efficient use of his energy, but either way, I mean, Hansen is now ahead in supply, 170 to 152. Jaehoon just desperately trying to get that critical mass of carriers. He actually has 4 carriers now, so I think he can move out, but it looks like, ooh, nice stasis there catching 4 tanks, and you know, this, Hansen did clean up the top left natural base there, but Jaehoon, as you can see, already took the 12 o'clock. He's actually taking the 3 o'clock as well. And this push has been greatly diminished, although the Protoss forces have as well, and a lot of reinforcements coming in. Actually, this is looking not so bad for Hansen. I thought Hansen had perhaps gotten a little bit greedy with that push, and you know, when you're not in good position, when your tanks are unsieged, when you don't have spider mines in position, the Protoss army is a lot more cost efficient at just A-moving than the Terran is. But it looks like Hansen is going to take down this expansion, but now the carriers are coming out. I feel like they could have come out a little bit earlier. 4 carriers is generally the magic number that you need. 4 carriers will one-shot a Goliath. But whoa, taking a lot of damage on the 1 carrier already. That is not ideal. But it looks like +1 at least is finished. He does have the double cybernetics for upgrading. But this is another reason why his army was so small, by the way. Not only was he double upgrading the air, but he still also had 2 forges in his main base, double upgrading ground. So, you know, he was investing in so much infrastructure and upgrades, like for both air and ground. It's just so expensive. And wow, Jaehoon is clearly not the best spell user that we've ever seen. Jangbi would be ashamed of that storm, Jesus. It's like the opposite of a Jangbi storm. Anyway, stasis on the Goliaths there. And the carry's going to come out and clean up these siege tanks. There's not that many Goliaths with this force, but actually it looks like there's not that many units there in total anyway. Most of the Terran army seems to be gathered in the middle of the map, kind of just regrouping a little bit. And is that a defense matrix carrier? Hold on. The observer, go back. I think there's a defense matrix carrier right now. I think Hansen might have just done a BM defense matrix there. Is that what I just saw? There was definitely something defense matrix there. I don't know if it might have been the Goliath underneath. I might just be seeing things, but either way, Jaehoon is pretty dead right now. Hansen would have to mess up pretty badly. Okay, looks like there's no defense matrix carrier there anymore. I guess I must have just been a Goliath or something, or a tank. Anyway. Or maybe it wore off. I don't know. Tanks now going to siege down this 9 o'clock base. Cannons, they're going to do absolutely nothing. Tanks are pretty good against cannons. And there's just way too many Goliaths now to make anything happen. Interestingly, Hansen, while all this was going on, took the center expansion, so that's what that orange blob was. I thought that was just like units just walking around. Nice EMP, hitting the Arbiter as well as I believe all of the carriers there, so reducing all of their shields. That's quite a lot of shields. They have, I believe, 300 shields apiece and 400 HP. So it's taking them almost down to half life. Looks like another command center that will get sniped by these carriers before it can float down to the bottom left. No, he's actually going to have to run away before he can take it down. Honestly, Sniper Ridge is not the best map for carriers because it's very, very open. So, you know, you don't have a lot of terrain to abuse, a lot of cliffs, so the Goliaths can just walk underneath you and take them down, but that is a lot of carriers. You can see the swarm of interceptors here, and if Jaehoon can micro these perfectly, he might possibly have a shot at coming back. It's still going to be very, very difficult. It's interesting because, like, I believe last season in Pro League, every game we saw where Protoss went carriers, like, they lost on this map, and we did see quite a few carrier games, actually, a surprising number, especially from the SKT Protosses, ironically. And Jangmi actually, spoiler alert, after OSL spoiler, after Jangmi won the OSL and, or sorry, not won the OSL, won the OSL semifinals, whoops, getting a little bit ahead of myself there, he actually said in an interview, like, the current maps, the current, like, Pro League / OSL maps are really not very good for carriers, just because of how open they are in the middle. I think it's because Kim Carrier actually asked him to go carriers in one game. And it looks like, I mean, Jaehoon trying to do some fancy harassment on this third base. It's going to be moderately effective, but you know, the problem is, you know, does he use his carriers to attack or defend? If he attacks his base, then the Terran just counters with his ground army, which ironically in this case is like way more mobile than the Protoss army, which is basically entirely in carriers. You know, normally the Protoss is the one that's a lot more mobile than the Terran. The Terran mech ball is generally very clunky and clumsy, but in this case the carriers, I mean, he's doing a good job with them. But they're obviously not that fast, and you can't really split them up very effectively. If you just send like half your carriers one way and half the other, they're really far less effective compared to the Goliaths. Whereas the Terran in this case, obviously, look, he's just like sending all his tanks to the top left. It's going to kill that base easy peasy. Although there are a decent number of ground forces that were amassed there. The Goliath's going up as well to help out. He knows that the carriers will be sent to defend that expansion, because this is the last remaining mining base of Jaehoon there at the top left. All his other expos have been taken out, but Hansen doesn't have that much mining either, and looks like he's got like 10 idle SCVs at the center expansion there. Not sure what happened. Not sure how that happened, but anyway, it looks like Hansen is going to back up here, away from this base, and I think that's a good idea. If he kind of tries to attack up that ramp, the carriers can abuse the cliff, and with the support of the High Templars behind, carriers plus storms is a pretty effective combo. The Goliaths generally clump a little bit, so if you get some good storms off, you can take those down very, very quickly. But Hansen still has like a 40-something supply lead, you know, keeping the Protoss back to one base. He's now expanding to the 3 o'clock. He's got the center expo as well, and still mining a little bit from that 6 o'clock. So Hansen is absolutely fine in terms of income. He's actually almost maxed right now. Jaehoon might just lose his main. He's going to lose all of that infrastructure. And looks like that poor observer got completely obliterated by those Goliaths. I think the command center is actually on fire. Was that actually the one that was at the bottom left? I think that was actually the command center that was at the bottom left. And just got floated all the way over to 3 o'clock because he realized he couldn't defend that base. Those spider mines in the mineral line just make me very sad. I mean, they are there for recall defense, but it's just like, you know, don't lay mines in your worker lines, guys. Just don't do it. It's not even worth it, man. Even if you kill a few units, you're gonna blow up all your SCVs. Anyway, carriers rather coming back to defend the main base. There's a million Goliaths there. And it looks like he's just gonna attack the interceptors, but with decent control. Oh, no, it looks like one carrier does go down, and decent control from Jaehoon, picking off some of the edge units. He's gonna be very, very careful. He might actually pick off this command center. It needs to be repaired right now. I think he might actually get it. Yeah, gets the command center. Nice move by Jaehoon, just being super annoying with these carriers. Playing kind of like playing refugee toss right now. He's got one base-ish. And it's kind of forcing Hansen to use his Goliath to defend. Now the carrier is moving into the main base, and it's going to take a really long time for the Goliath force to get back there. They can pick off a lot of the infrastructure here. Going to go after command center, it looks like, and just going to use High Templars to defend this base. But there's a lot of tanks rolling up there. He's going to get that command center. What would be really cool is if he snipes most of the command centers and then just uses DTs to defend. There is still that 6 o'clock command center that I believe has a ComSat. Yeah, it looks like the observer actually showing us that as well. But he will only have 4 scans maximum on that one ComSat if it has full energy. And it doesn't look like he has any science vessels remaining, so that would be quite clutch if he could snipe that last command center with the carriers and then just use some Dark Templars to hold off this army. But it looks like carriers might get caught in the open. He's got to be so careful. Oh man, the Goliaths intercepting the carriers before they can go home and defend the top left base. And Jaehoon, he needs to pick off all these Goliaths. He's about to lose his last mining base at the top left. I don't think his ground forces were enough to hold it. I still see some units there. Yeah, it looks like they were not enough to hold. Might want to make some DTs there while the Terran's attention is focused elsewhere. You know, make some emergency Dark Templars, but it is looking more and more dire for Jaehoon. I mean, he lost, you know, I feel like he lost the game already, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes ago, but trying to do a valiant comeback with these carriers, and you know, it wouldn't be the first time, but GG from Jaehoon. Hansen takes game number 1 here in the series, giving the point to Stars, and claiming another Protoss victim on Sniper Ridge here. Honestly, I don't really understand why so many Protosses go for carriers on this map. It's like a wide 4-player map with not that many terrain features. I mean, it does have a lot of water areas on the edges, you know, relative to most Broodor maps, but just a little ceremony there from Hansen. But yeah, I don't know, carriers don't seem like the best choice.
분위기 좋은 시작만큼 후반으로 가면 갈수록 뒷심을 발휘하는 웅진 스타즈이기 때문에 연패를 끌어내기 위한 시작 분위기는 환상적이네요.
네, 이렇게 우중 선수가 시즌 4승째를 찍으면서 기분 좋게 전반에서 8게임 단에게 앞서 나가는 웅진. 자, 과연 오랜만에 전반을 마무리 지으면 승리를 마무리 줄 수 있을지 잠시 후에 오늘의 2세트로 돌아가겠습니다.